Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Kalsum. I'm from PBI Class B, and this is the assignment 6 of Psycholinguistics with the topic Language Perception in the View of Psycholinguistics Theory Part 2. Question 1 is what do you know of phases of word recognition? Explain your answers. In psycholinguistics, the phases of word recognition involve a structured process through which spoken words are recognized in the mental lexicon, as outlined by Fraunhofer and Tyler 1987. These phases include the first one is initial lexical contact or activation level. This phase begins when auditory input, which has been segmented phonetically and phonologically, makes initial contact with the mental lexicon. This contact activates possible words candidates based on linguistic aspects such as phonology, pronunciation, syntax, words class, syntactic meaning, semantic meaning, pragmatic, and context. Okay, and then Bradley and Foster 1987 refers to this as the activation level, where words potentially relevant to the auditory input start to become activated. And then selected phase. Once initial contact activates a subset of words, the mind begins a selection process to identify the most relevant and accurate word to represent the input. This selection may involve differentiating between words or reducing irrelevant candidates or finding the most frequent lexical items. And then integration phase. In the final phase, the chosen word are combined with the input's meaning. These integration links the recognized word with stored knowledge, ensuring that the auditory input is matched to linguistic aspects, such as phonological, syntactic, semantic, and pragmatic. This phase completes the word recognition process as the mind identifies the input as recognized word within the mental lexicon. This three-phase model explains how auditory stimuli are transformed into recognized words by activating, selecting, and integrating word candidates in the mental lexicon. And the question number two is what do you know of parsing stage? What process takes place in this stage, and what types knowledge does mind need to go through the process? Okay, the parsing stage in psycholinguistics is the process of assembling recognized words from perception into meaningful sentences. This stage, as described by Frazier 1987, involves assigning syntactic and semantic roles to words so that the auditory input can be understood as a structured sentence. Joe to 2023 explains that during parsing, the mind performs sentence processing where it identifies relationship between words and aims to understand the sentence meaning. Further adds that sentence processing integrates phonological and semantic aspects of words to form an interpretation. For parsing to occur, the mind needs specific grammatical knowledge. As noted by Clifton 2001, Abdallah and El Nadif 2022 identify two essential types of knowledge for this. The first one is articulatory encoding knowledge. This includes awareness of prosody, such as word stress and intonation, and the phonological form of each word. And then linguistic encoding knowledge divided into two parts. The first is functional level, knowledge of lexical choices and grammatical relationship between them based on the meaning of the sentence. And then positional level, knowledge of sentence structure like word order, word function, and grammatical markers. For example, tense and pluralization. The question number three is what do you know of interpretation stage and discourse processing? Okay, in the interpretation stage, The mind works to fully understand spoken language by processing the semantic meaning, the semantic aspect of speech. Trexler, Bribey, and Pickering 1998 1997 explain that this involves identifying the meaning of each word and phrase. So, at the interpretation is the process of translating the meaning of spoken language into understanding. Discourse processing goes beyond interpreting single sentence. It involves understanding a series of connected sentence or conversation. This process, as Parks and Rep 2010 described, helps the mind create a coherent understanding of the entire discourse by recognizing links between sentence and context. The interpretation stage involves extracting syntax, interpreting meaning based on the linguistic context, and storing relevant information to understand speech as a connected sequence. Gibbs 2021. And the question number 4 is, what do you know of three-party model in the interpretation stage? Okay, the three-party model in the interpretation stage, according to Sparks and Rep 2010, describes the three levels of discourse processing. The first step is surface level. This is the most basic level, where the mind gathers words based on phonological aspects and forms them into sentences. Consider relevance to represent meaning based on auditory input. And then propositional level. At this level, the mind encodes underlying meanings by connecting prior contextual knowledge with linguistic content, forming conclusion about the discourse meaning. Only meanings aligned with the content are included, while irrelevant meanings are discarded. And then situational or mental level. Here, the mind effectively concludes the meaning by combining all linguistic and contextual knowledge from auditory input, achieving successful comprehensions. These three levels illustrate how the mind processes and understands spoken language in stages. Okay, question number 5 is, in sum, can you explain the perception stage as a whole? Okay, the first stage is word recognition and lexical processing, where the mind identifies word by segmenting auditory inputs and activating potential words candidates, selecting what's the most relevant one, and integrating it with the context to complete the word recognition. And the second is parsing stage and sentential processing. Words are organized into structured sentence by assigning syntax and meaning, with sentence processing guided by grammatical knowledge and phonological cues for a clear interpretation. And the last is interpretation stage and discourse processing. The mind understands full discourse by linking sentences, moving from surface meaning to deeper understanding, and combining context with linguistic content for coherence. That's all from me. I'm Umi Kalsum. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.